Welcome to part 3 of my Spectrum walkthrough. This is where we're going to finish out this mod. The first thing we need to address are the Stormstones, which are these things right here. I had done this in the last episode, except for this is part of the footage that got corrupted. Stormstones are created by lightning strikes on copper rods. Lightning rods are really good for this because they will attract anything in a thunderstorm, and I actually got these by throwing a channeling trident at the rod. Now, because the hitbox is so small, you really have to hit the rod for that to show up. Now, these useful things are used in just about everything, including the potion workshop, the enchanting station, you name it, it's used in it. So it's very nice to have a bunch of them because you're going to go through a lot of them. And it's necessary to unlock some pieces of equipment that will be used later on. But the next thing we really need to do is to purify some of this raw azurite. Almost anything that is purified, smelted, or anything of that nature is going to be done in the fusion shrine. In this case, it is going to be raw azurite, water, neolith, and diamonds. That was much faster than I thought it was going to be. Now with this in hand, we can make an advancement in a few different areas, most notably in a ring, which is needed for something that is buried underground. And if you're a bit of a mole rat like I am, you've probably found one and thought, how in the world do I get into this without breaking it? I'll show you. This particular recipe starts with a fanciful tuff ring, which you can just make out of tuff and a regular crafting station. Liquid crystal, azurite, blue pigment, a tuff ring. Wow, that tuff ring, that model, holy crap, that's kind of fun though. So the tuff ring goes in your hand. Now, if you look in survival, I have 2 hearts. So the 2 blue hearts are necessary. So let's go find that hidden thing underground. That was a new achievement to me, so I had to go look it up. And apparently, I'm carrying too much 13. I can't jump, not even a full block. So if I get rid of this, and get rid of this, I can jump again. That's fascinating. So note to self. Beware of the amount of 13 you're carrying with you. Here we are. This is what we're looking for. So these 2 blue hearts are the same as those 2 blue hearts on my bar. If I take that ring off, then the hearts go away. But as it is, I can walk through this door. And now I can't. So the hearts are necessary to gain access, which I think is a very clever mechanic, because now that I put back on, I have to wait for the heart to come back. Now, there's these chests scattered around the place, and there is a puzzle on the inside. I'm not going to show you how to break it. I'll let you do that yourself. It's not a difficult one. Just a hint for you, look at the exit and follow it backwards. And if you know anything about Redstone, it's not going to be a difficult puzzle. The real prize comes through this door. Now in here, we have a number of different things and a book. So this is to copy enchantments from any item into the book. But there's 2 other items that can spawn in this chest. Hey, look at that. A music disc. That's nice. See this thing that can spawn in this chest? It's called a Jade vine bulb. Okay, so I've been ignoring this for far too long. And now it's time to deal with it. But I wanted to show you something. So this is the stuff that eats the bedrock. If we come over here, it has consumed all the bedrock, and even the bedrock is infesting other bedrock. Now you're probably asking yourself, how do we deal with this? It's even turning the lightning rods into this garbage. Well, there's something called a bottle of decay. It's green pigment, a raw azurite, neolith, and some powder. There we go. Now, this is kind of necessary for lots of different reasons, because this will decay away anything. Everything is reverting to dirt. Even the original source blocks, all of this was converted. Same thing goes with the bedrock. All of this bedrock that's been eaten apart down here will get converted back to normal bedrock. So we're just going to drop some of this right about here and watch the show. Because you know somewhere in here is converting still inside the mountain. All the stone, all the ore, all the andesite, everything that was converted is now dirt. Nothing gets reverted back to its original state. Dirt's just fine though. If you need lots of dirt, this is the way to get dirt. Something else I did want to show you though. This is where I put the midnight solution, and it came down and hit this lava flow. And where it hit the lava, I actually turned it into terracotta. So if you need terracotta, throw some midnight solution down it. And as long as you don't take out the lava source, you have endless terracotta. And that should be everything returned back to, well, not completely normal, but at least it's not going to destroy the world anymore. And that's progress in the right direction. And now that we've created the Decay way, we can make a Spirit Instiller. This, as far as I know, is the last and final structure or pedestal that is necessary. There might be one in the future, but for the time being, this is the last one in this update. So we're going to go ahead, click the little eyeball, and we're going to just drop it right about here. Now, I don't know if this is a bug or working as intended, but according to the structure book, there's no blocks above the chimes here, but there's one required here, because if you put the chime up, break the block, the chime falls. So you will need a block above the chime, or it will not stay. There we go. I've been flying around the world, going to the different areas, because I'm looking for this. This is what we need for the next piece. So the bulb can be resurrected with some liquid crystal, Vegetal, inside the distiller. And you get a germinated jade vine bulb. There we go. Now, this is very interesting because it only grows in the moonlight. You expose it to sun, you plant it in the sun, it dies almost instantly. And you get another dead one and you have to resurrect it and la da 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 da. So that's kind of tough to do. Because if it has any hint of sun, it completely decays instantly. And it needs to grow being attached to a fence. Actually, this might be a good use case for the ender glass. Alright, so what I've done is I've set up some radiating ender glass or some ender glass. And I've got a daylight sensor attached to it. And if I turn the sensor off, the glass goes transparent. So this means when it's nighttime, this should open up. When it's daytime, it should close. Because this only needs to have sunlight, which this is actually probably the most ideal setup. So we're just going to attach these like this. We've got them planted in place, and now we wait. This is going to take several nights because they only grow mature in this moonlight of a full moon. At the end of the first full moon cycle, they'll gain some length. At the end of, I don't know, the third or fourth one, they'll turn a little reddish pink. And then you can right-click them with a bottle, and you can get the next item out of it. Now, before that stage, you can right-click them with an empty hand, and you can get jade petals, and that will open up to a couple recipes and the next couple things that you can do while you wait for this to mature. And here we have a completed and mature jade vibe. And here we have it, a completed and mature jade vine. So we're just going to right-click it with a bottle, and it gets the moonshine. We're going to take all of this. Now with this moonshine, we get to do something that was desperately needed. We get to make a budding obsidian block. It's like there's a budding amethyst block and topaz block and citrine block. No more making, onyx. I said obsidian. No more making onyx blocks. No more making onyx in the fusion table when we can just make a block. But to do this, we need a block of onyx, which you make with 4 pieces of onyx shards. Now, this recipe requires midnight aberration, block of onyx, and the moonstruck nectar. Now, you notice down here, I have the midnight aberration in my bar, and it's slowly decaying. When the midnight solution first appears, they appear. So you want to take these things and shove them into a chest as quickly as possible, because the longer they're in your inventory, the longer they slowly turn into gunpowder. So we're going to very quickly throw those in there and get them out of inventory. Take a blocks of Onyx, put it there, and a Moonstruck detector there. So now we have a budding Onyx. And this is nice because we can sit it here and it will just grow Onyx shards for us, which is fantastic. Very handy for these to be renewable. Speaking of renewability, there's an item that is provided that you get not early on, but about halfway through the progress we've done, called a Crystal Apothecary. And what the Crystal Apothecary does is you place it in a geode, and when all the geodes get to be full-sized, it automatically harvests the entire geode for you, which is fantastic, especially if you're doing this on top of a geode of any kind. Just to demonstrate, I'm going to go find one. What I've done here is I've found a geode, and I've punched out everything, so we have exposed all the budding amethysts, and then sped up the tick speed so they grow near instantly. So we're going to plop this down, and instantly we have 2 stacks of shards. And the longer this sits here, it'll just automatically farm the shards as they grow, saving you quite a bit of time. Now I imagine with the Ender Hopper, you can actually pull this right into your Ender chest. Now these aren't a geode, but very nice. Very nice. I was initially on the impression that this had to be placed inside of a bounding box of geode, but apparently it just needs to be within a certain proximity. And that's fantastic news, because that means you can space these a bit more appropriately and maximize your output, because these are going to be the hardest ones for you to get. But once you have, this much, and if you got the Midnight Aberration, you can make walls of these things, which is fantastic. So while we wait for that to mature, I've been playing around with the Potion Workshop and the Cinderhearth, and I've finally figured something else out here. This does do all base vanilla recipes. I just happen to pick the one where the recipe is wrong. Now, I don't know if this is by design or if it was a bug, they just got it wrong in the mod, but I did file a bug report noting that the recipe for weakness that they have in here is actually incorrect. I also noted in the report that the developer saying you're supposed to be able to make splash potions, but it's not working. So I also noted that that was broken. These both might be bugs and they might be fixed, or they might be by design and I'm just something else I'm not understanding. So, take it as a grain of salt that this is just something I've kind of discovered as I've played around with this. That being said, on to the potion making. So this is the splash potion for regeneration. You see I did one right here. Now, the achievement to move on is to create a level 4 potion, which I figured out how to do. We're going to pull the gunpowder out. We're going to put glowstone dust, the shimmerstone gem, and some topaz powder in, and we're going to drop in a bottle. And that should give us a level 4 potion. That gives us a level 3 potion. How very interesting. There appears to be some randomization with how this is generated. When I tested this before, I got it on the first shot. But this time, look at all the potions I made to get that one. But it does work. This recipe does work. I imagine there are others that do too, but this is the only one I found that would produce an accurate regeneration 3. And I had a chance of making a regeneration 4. So, with that out of the way, let's have a chat about the Cinderhearth. So, for the Cinderhearth, this runs off of the Experience Orb or the Knowledge Gem and ink. Now, the thing you need to bear in mind for this is the orange ink is absolutely necessary for the hearth to run at all. These other ink gives different bonuses. The black one will reduce the cost of everything else. In the book, it tells you what each ink does. And if in your interface and you click right here, you can see the bonuses you get for actually using the hearth. For melting redstone, you can get redstone and glowstone. You can get diamonds. There's a few different variations. But for the most part, it is dependent on what other colors you have here, how much there is. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is you can only have as much ink in here as there is an equal amount in here. See how here I've got 3.66k? Here I've also got 3.66k. So if this is very low and your bottle is 2, you're going to need to refill it before you can be able to fill this back up. Just a matter of dropping the ore in and it will smelt down. Now, it is faster than a regular furnace, but because you're smelting it, You're not always guaranteed the same type of rate as you would if you're using efficiency 5 to break it. This looks like about every 1 ore is giving you about 2 of each, and I already got 1 diamond out of it. That's fantastic. It's a hit or miss of whether or not getting that stray diamond or whatever is worth smelting all this extra ore for. This brings us back to our color picker. Now, the thing I figured out with this while playing around with those is that this is kind of necessary for some of these other functions, and I imagine when the next update comes out, it'll be more necessary. I've taken ink flask from the Cinderhearth, and if I shift and right click with the brush, I get these this little display menu. If I click yellow and then orange, because I have the orange ink flask on me in my inventory, if I right click, I can shoot globs of orange paint. I can appropriately color anything that is considered a spectrum block and wool plus sheeps. So any color block, any bright block. Now the pigment palette does the same thing as the model does, except for it allows you to store it on the palette itself. And it's the same basic thing. You shift and right click, you pick a color. We'll do this one, and I kind of wish there was some way to pull the ink out of this and put it in the Cinderhearth, or put it back into the color picker. But once it's on the palette, it's just kind of on the palette. But it's just mobile ink, so you can use your brush. Let's create some memories. This is accomplished by, well, murdering animals or things with a sword with treasure hunter on it. What happens is it has a chance of dropping a custom mob head on death, and you come over here to the distillery, you put Vegetal here, you put the mob head here, and you put something that mob really likes in this bowl. And then the magic happens and you're given an egg. Now it's time to address the cow in the field. Now, when I was trying to do the memories achievement, I decided just to spawn, I don't know, a couple hundred cows in this tiny little space and just go to town with the treasure hunter sword. And when I picked up the head, I got an additional recipe for this idol. Now, there are a number of different idols, and looking through them, each one does something a little bit different. So it might be worthwhile to have a couple of animals of these types nearby, with the idol nearby, just to get these additional benefits out of them. Now, there's a few more achievements related to the memories and collecting heads. There's one to collect the head of the Ender Dragon, there's one to collect the head of a Wither, and there's one to create an idol for a slime. And this one actually sounds humorous. But I do know there's a hidden one right here for the Wither, which is create a Wither out of Wither skulls. I'm not going to step through these in this walkthrough. I'll do it in a separate video. Same thing with these. I'm not going to step through them, although I already did this one. This one is not difficult to do. I actually have the materials right here. And it is very simply copy 2 books to another book. So I have 2 feather falling 4 books. I put one here, put the last one here, and it will just copy the book. That simple. There's not much to that one. That's a bug. That should have been a feather falling 4 book. Anyway, there's one more thing I really want to cover in this walkthrough, and that is the potion pendant. You make the potion pendant, of course, in the fusion shrine like you do most things. You put in some liquid crystal, pink pigment. It only needs 4 glass, but there's a stack, green gem, and the pendant. And there's the potion pendant. Now, this is kind of nifty because what it does is you get to wear a potion. Where is my brewing stand? Ah, here you are. I think that's what we're going to call it for this. I've decided... Oh, look! I've got regeneration hearts in the corner. I think this is what we're going to call it for this episode. Like I said, there's one more coming. I'm going to go over some of the other blocks, some of the last achievements. There's a few things here we didn't touch on. The bottomless bundle and some of these other ones that we'll get into on the next one. This video is getting quite long, as it is. So we'll follow up on the rest of this on one more video. I want to go over a lot of these other blocks, like the redstone components. I know there's 1 or 2 here I haven't unlocked yet, but because I don't have the items. And some of these other magical blocks. The compacting chest is amazing, honestly. and it's probably one of my favorite things out of this whole thing because I attach this to a gold farm, and it automatically takes the nuggets, compacts them into bars, which then put them into blocks. Saved me so much space. It was fantastic. So there's some really cool things in here that are very, very helpful if you're in a long-term world and you're doing really big projects and big farms. We're going to wrap this episode up here. I want to thank everyone in the Spectrum Discord and some of the comments I've gotten, and especially the developer who's been very, very kind. And I will see you all again very soon. Goodbye for now.